Well, good day, everybody, and this course is on JavaScript, and we are today going to briefly talk about event handlers and forms. And for our presentation, we'll have something small to do with JavaScript, and we'll talk about events in JavaScript, and then we'll talk about the various types of events available, and then we'll look at a few concepts here and there about web hopping, and then we will look at a few programs again, and we will see how some of these concepts are implemented. The very first thing we need to understand is that JavaScript is one of the most powerful programming languages that is being used on the web. And this power of dynamism is what makes it very ideal to be used for programming websites. And JavaScript is just like a function or includes lots of functions of blocks, and which are always executed when they're being called for. And this is what we call as events. So whenever something happens, a block of JavaScript code is executed, and then some website or something happens. And now that is what we are going to talk about when we are talking about events. But then nonetheless, we just want to say that JavaScript is very, very important. Someone can make a small web page using just only JavaScript and use the various technologies available in it. Some of the advantages are this: it's very fast, it's very simple, it's very popular, it's interoperable, and it gives the ability to create a rich user interface. So that's very important. Some of the disadvantages is that security issues are there, and browser support. Sometimes some browser will not really interpret some of the codes well, JavaScript code. So that's some of the downside of JavaScript. Now, events, we did talk about this in some lecture. We said that these are activities that are performed on the web page. Now that's very important. And now we have two types of activities. In this case, we are talking about browser-driven or user-driven events. So it means that there's some things that a user who is using a computer, and more especially is now using a website, would do to generate some events, clicking buttons, moving the mouse here and there, and then canceling something, entering text, and then pressing keys, doing all sorts of activities. That's very important. So that can be under user driven. But then on the other hand, we also have browser driven. There are things that would be performed by the browser irrespective of the user knowledge, or some of the things that will be happening behind the scenes. So those, and they're generating events that would perform some actions. Let's say maybe somebody's working on something, and then the browser is facing some problems. Maybe it needs to restart or refresh automatically. Some events are generated, and then some functions are executed, and then some action is done. For example, it's refreshed, or it's closed, and then or it gives the user some alert. So some of these are also part of the events we're talking about. So these events are listened, or they are monitored by what we call as event listeners. Event listeners are nothing but functions. Functions which are used to hear or listen to the type of event that has been generated, and then execute a code that is attached to that event listener. That's very important, and this is their formula, just a simple formula: add event listener. And then the syntax is here of event handlers. We have the source. Let's say it's a document or it's an object, and then you have the event listener, and then you talk about the event name. Here it's a click or something like that, and then the event handler here, and then true or false. I think this one you will see it in your notes, but it talks about whether some of these things will be handled during the bubbling phases. Right, so we have various types of events. Now, these events all help us to interact with our programs very well, or our computer or our websites very well. One, we have mouse events. So there's clicking, moving mouse, double clicking. That's why we have on double click. It's an event. That's very important. When we talk about keyboard handlers, we are mentioning all the events that are in charge of keyboard events. So there's either key press or key down, key up, etc. And then we have other types of events that are in charge of frames or forms. For example, if somebody is searching something on a form, that event is executed. So when you're dragging things, it's another event. That's very, very important. Let me just see if we can look into Visual Studio Code. We have some of these programs in our notes, and then we can execute them. This is a simple program that is showing us what an event is. So as usual, remember we can include a script inside a HTML document by ensuring that we have everything inside this tags script. And it's very important for us to mention that we are talking about text or JavaScript. If you have it this way, it's much better, and then I think your code will not throw up some error, because I think some of you are writing language here, but then for this case, let's just write text, and then we mention that it's JavaScript. Now, document is now what is happening there. Add event listener to the function, and this is the event. It's click. So if you click, something happens. So what's going to happen? A show alert function will be executed. So show alert function is here. So the show alert function now will just present an alert that do not click on the web page, and that is I think what happens. Now this is called as events.html. Now I did say that this was somewhere, and it is here, events.html. So once I run this, we can see that it's going to load, and it's going to show up here. So click anywhere. This is the name of this document. And then if, for example, I click somewhere here, you see that this event brings up this notification or this alert. So that shows that this alert or this event has been captured or has been listened to, and then some function has executed something, and that function is do not click on this web page. So that is what is happening. So we are also having another programmer to show mouse button. Now we know very well that mouse, in this case I'm using a laptop, it does not have a mouse. A mouse has got this is the left click, this is the right click, and this is the wheel. So we have all events for all this, and that's why we are seeing here that we have example for mouse button click. For example, if you click on the left, this will show that this is left, an alert. If you click on the right, it will show that 2 has been pressed. So, and then mouse button pressed. So these are the things that are there. This is mouse button event. So let me see quickly if we are together there. Mouse button event right here. So what happens? It's loading. There we go. example for mouse button event. So if I click the mouse on the computer, if it's the left mouse button, you'll see that the left mouse has been pressed, and then if it's the right mouse, it's the right mouse button that has been pressed. Let me try to insert this mouse and then see if it's gonna respond to this. Okay, I think here we are. There's a left mouse, that's okay, and there's the right mouse, that's okay, and then okay, middle mouse button pressed. So I was just trying to press this scroll bar, this scroll wheel. You can also press it so it's the middle. So that means that it's also working well. Allow me to remove it, and then I get back to the other programs. Now we have another program here that is known as key press. Now it's very important for us to understand that all the keys that we have in our computers have got some ASCII value. For example, if it's an A, it is valued at 97. That's the number they give ASCII value. So if you're talking about another number, then you're going to get some other value. There's a website, I think, that okay, this is a good website, the ASCIIcode.com. It's trying to show that ASCII printable characters. Now, if it's a space bar, the value is 32. If it's a small a, the value is 97. If it's a capital A, the value is 65. So if it's 100, the value is D. So if you press D and the value is 100, then it's going to say that I pressed D, something close to that. So in this case, we did say that if this character code is 97, then alert the key here that A key is pressed. So if I press any other key on the computer, nothing is going to happen until and unless I press A. So that's what happens. So this is called key pressed. If I go here, key pressed, I load this. If I'm busy typing, nothing is happening. But if I just press on letter A, then we realize that the key A is pressed. So that means that the event for this particular key has been triggered, captured, interpreted, and then everything has been done. So for all the keys that we have in our computer, they have event listeners to monitor how when they're pressed, some action is done. So that's how we are able to even type extremely fast, because we have all keys having event listeners, etc. But that's not for this course. Maybe we can try something. Let's just go to this printable. Let's select okay, should I say D or let's say 103. 103 is G. So in this case, I need to come here and say 103. So 103, and then I can write here letter G is pressed. So that's small letter G. Then I need to save my program. I need to go and run it here. Now this time around, if I'm pressing A, nothing is happening. This is A I'm pressing. I know you're not seeing. But then if I press G, then G comes up. So that is what happens. That is what is happening. So this is what happens. So we need to understand the logic behind this, and I hope you will follow it up. So for any letter here, let's say it's you want a number. If it's 48, it's 0, something like that. That's how it's being done. All right, now load events. Now what is happening here? So we are having some alert here coming, and it's helping us to move on. Let me see first where we are. So all this, we can have even some loading for forms here. So sometimes when we are working on our website, sometimes so many things load, and one of them is is some of them are being handled by this event handlers. So on load, right? So for example, I want to load events. Let me just see if it's working here. So load events just right here. Aha, page is loading. Just as soon as it's loading, there it is, it's loading. And then as I click it, and then there's an image here. I think to somewhere that we need to load this as we are loading, but then we need to also have some image somewhere there. So this is one load. That's when we have an alert saying bye bye. So but then because we are loading, it will say page is loading. So if we don't perform this other events, nothing will happen. But then after that, this image will show. Make sure that the image is a JPG, and then it's downloaded and placed in the same folder as your work. So this is what happens. So make sure that you save this work in a folder, and then in that folder you can always be running these programs. And then quite fast, I will go here after this. We have very many event types. We go to what is called as web hopping. Web hopping is just like you're hopping from one work to another, or you just move from one thing to another. So web hopping, opening a new page in the same or a pop-up window. You're working, and then you want a pop-up window to come to you, and then you can either keep on working on it or looking at it. That's very important. Now, unfortunately, sometimes some viruses have been used to really disrupt people by ensuring that web hopping is used there. So you get that you're working on something, things keep on popping to you, so that's not really good. So that's just an example to show you that it's being used. Now, web hopping, there we are. We have web hop 1 here. So what we're saying is that in this script, we have this function here, web.open. So we want to open this website. So I copied and pasted the YouTube function here, and this is the name of this site. So webhope 1. So webhope 1, let's see if we can be able to. Webhope 1 is here. There we are. Oh, right. So we are supposed to get from this to another web. I'm seeing it's being blocked here. Continue blocking. No, let me just say allow here. Then let me just, yes. So we moved from here to YouTube. You see, that's what is happening. So we hop from this to this other page. So that's what happens. So that is web hopping. We let me just refresh. Now we hop into the other one. So that's very important. And then the second program is a web hop 2. It's talking about passing so many other parameters, not parameters, actually ensuring that you have specifications of either what you want, the new page that you're going to open. You wanted this size, this features, and this one activated, this one not activated, and all those other things. So this is what is called web page 2. And I can see here we want either the left side, the height to be somewhere, I think 1,000, something close to that pixels. And then we start from, I think 00 here, somewhere up there. And then scroll bars, no. Accessible, no. Yes. Toolbars, yes. Menu bar, yes, etc. And that's also something that can also happen. So if I go to web hopping 2 here, there I am. All right, something blocked it here. Let me just continue here. So let me refresh here. So this is the page, and ideally we are supposed to always, yes. Now let me refresh. Right, this is a new page coming here. When I do this, I get the YouTube thing coming also here. So this is also what we call as web hopping. So ensure that you understand what web hopping is. And then now I think the final thing is to just come to the summary, we need to understand what an event is. It's an incident of something happening. Event handler, it's a special function program that will be called on the occurrence of an event. And then web hopping, opening a new page in the same pop-up window, and then emulating events, trigger events through code. So we can write codes that can emulate some events. And then we need to understand what the document object model, that's very important, it's just standard. That is very important to help us understand very many other things to come. So we can do very many things with Java program. For example, we have the pizza order program. It's right in our notes. Please, let's go through it and see how we can create an interface, simple interface using JavaScript. I tried it here, so I think this is the last one. It's right here. You have the script starting here. There's a function here. Variables are being declared here. And then we have control structures here just to ensure that we have the right information. And then we have the calculations here. Then we have the deal that is being allotted here. Then once this calculation function is done here, we have now this something like our interface. We have input here. Input type is text. So we have text being passed through this. It's like we're buying pizza. Pizza can be in small size, medium, or large size, and each of them have got their own on prices. And then based on that, sometimes we need to give some tip to people who serve us or give us that. That's basically what is happening. So that can be done. And let me try to use this one here this time round. Right, so it comes something like that. So you can put in here some values, and then you can keep on trying and seeing how it works. So basically, that is what we have in our first lecture. I'm going to again do the same for the other lectures, and they're going to be brief, to the point, and just understand what we present in these lectures. Thank you.